Okay, 4 minutes to 7 o'clock. This is GH1 TV. You're watching GH Today with me, Kafui and Biswa. And it's now time for us to do hard talk with a gentleman who was two-time General Secretary of the Convention People's Party. Celebrated his 50th birthday a few days ago. He's a sharpshooter. But the reason he's here is that he's gunning for the Flagstaff House and he wants to make history. Ivor Kobina Greenstreet is our guest, flag bearer of the CPP, and he's here right now on GH Today. Good morning.
Good morning.
Really good to see you.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be here.
Okay.
You have a great studio.
Oh, thank you very much, and we're glad to have you.
And I think now you are the funkiest morning show in town.
There you go.
Well, we take it.
There you go. Indeed.
I know it will stay that way for some time, you know.
The man is trying to soften us because we've come to hard talk.
This is the hard talk.
Yes, right.
It's good to have you once again.
Yes, I'm happy to be here, and good morning to your viewers.
Okay. Let's kick off with what is topical. I mean, last week the mood was somber because of June 3, and we're celebrating 1 year of what was really a terrible occurrence a year back then. Looking back now, are you satisfied with the way things have been handled post June 3?
Well, I think clearly significant steps have been taken to try and arrest such similar tragedies and disasters from occurring again. But I think even the Accra mayor admitted that even on this occasion, when we had a heavy rainfall, I think on the same June 3rd, there were some fatalities which, as at yet, they've not been able to confirm. And I think so many engineers and experts have given different perspectives over the period of time as to the actual root cause of the Accra flooding issue, whether it starts from the rivers further up, whether it is down to the nature of our drains, whether it is down to how we have organized and planned ourselves, and whether, responsibility lies on those who have blocked various waterways along the way by unauthorized buildings and those kinds of things. So I think steps have been taken, but clearly more has to be done. But I think we have to, be satisfied with attempts that are being made, but recognize that far more needs to be done in the future if we're going to prevent such occurrences. Because I remember going there; it was a terrible sight. I happened to be in town. We went along there, and to see some charred bodies at that filling station, and to move around and see the nature of the destruction that had taken place was a harrowing sight. And we would never wish to have such a thing repeated anywhere in our country, where there's such loss of life in it.
Indeed. But it's been a whole year, and some victims are yet to be compensated.
Well, that obviously is entirely unacceptable. And I assume now that it's been exposed and it's going to be expedited. I think the problem with governance at the moment is that government is always juggling so many balls and firefighting in so many different directions that sometimes the existing structure doesn't exist to make sure that all necessary demands are met. And that's a reflection of the way we do our things here, which has to change. I think we have to be far more efficient about how we go about our administration and our governance. And those things are reflected in so many of the things that we do, and in so many of the instances of corruption, which is one of our main problems at the moment. Most of the time is administrative failure and institutional failure. And these are things that have to be looked at in great detail if we're going to make some significant changes in how we improve the way we go about our affairs.
Does it depress you for having to point out all these lapses and avoidable issues, because you need to point them out and then offer your alternative? Does that depress you? Because you're normally quite ebullient and quite positive, but there's a lot of negativity around.
It doesn't depress me, because I'm capable of lapses myself. We're all capable of lapses. How much more families, communities, or a nation itself? But unfortunately, they've been repetitive, far too repetitive, and But that is not a reflection of just necessarily this current government. I think other governments before have also had their repetitive lapses. So the important thing is to accept and admit that we have been having these repetitive lapses in a whole host of different areas, and change direction, as they say, because this is not just politics. I think the judiciary have had their problems. The churches have their problems. The police have their problems. Smaller opposition parties like CPP, we have our problems. So I don't think we can just say all the problems exist, in the current government, and therefore try and lump everything on them. No. I think it's a societal endemic issue that we have to tackle at its roots if we're going to be honest and fair with ourselves.
Indeed, it's interesting that you talk about problems and how that everyone has problems, including even the CPP. I remember the last Congress, the NDC Congress, when you had to speak, you hit very hard at the NDC, or should I say the Mahama-led government, and said that it was all about doomsaw, it was all about corruption. You said, boy, sabre. Has anything changed for you?
Well, what I can remember, what has changed is that day, Kafui was not wearing green socks. Kafui
wore the socks for you today.
When a journalist starts chasing you somewhere, then as a politician, your antennae goes up. And I remember leaving Kumasi Sports Stadium. I was trying to leave quickly, of course, as you know, after throwing the bomb. And this man, Kafui, was running after me. I said, hey, I'm in trouble.
I need the story.
So, and I'm sure as he was running after me, he was saying to himself, this man, I'm going to get him today.
One time.
So,
are the boys still tired? Boys are bread, is it still?
Oh, yes. Boys are bread. Oh, that one definitely you have to accept that, we need a change. But the important thing to realize is that change can't be MPP. And so we have to get into the psychology of the people to understand that, if you look at what MPP and NDC have done over the last few years, so many of the things they do are exactly the same. After all, it was MPP who sold Ghana Telecom, and now we have a Vodafone. Now NDC are tampering with ECG. After selling so many enterprises down the line, now they have wisely decided to restart a sugar factory at Komenda. CPP, we believe in using the power of the state to do so much more than the private sector can do on its own. No private sector is going to decide to go and invest in huge thousands of hectares of land, of sugar plantation, build a whole factory from scratch, because he'll be looking at the cost of the money and how he's going to get a necessary return over a period of time. So the state has to get involved.
But state enterprises haven't
but this is not
done well all the time.
This is not a state enterprise.
This is a PPP.
Yeah, it's a
yes,
PPP.
Indeed.
So I think the structure has changed, but the concept of the fact that the state has to get in, nobody was going to go into oil palm plantations. Look at the vast waves of oil palm that we have that were created by Nkrumah and Kutu Achampo. No private sector guy is going to go into that, on his own, unless government is going to try and, have some special incentives, some special regulations, some special tax regime to make it worth their while.
So CPP would involve more state influence in these things?
Absolutely. Because look,
but what was the record? I mean, by the time President Nkrumah had been overthrown, a lot of these state-owned enterprises were on their last legs.
What you have to do is that we're always fond of doing comparative analysis. So look at what Taiwan has done, look at what Singapore has done, look at what South Korea has done, look at what China has done. We now go to China to go and borrow billions and billions of dollars. And they are a very country who, at a point in time, recognize the importance of the state to get their economy up to a certain level before entirely making it a private sector run activity. And so I think we have to recognize, and I think that's what the theory was at that time, that we have to look at where we have comparative advantage, where do we have resources which we can add value to try and get us to a certain point. We were almost complete with our gold refinery. Up until now, we have been taking all of this gold out of our soil. We were called Gold Coast once. Look at what South Africa managed to do with the extraction of their gold. Look, go to Johannesburg. You've been there lots of times. It's a wealthy place because they took the steps to acquire what they like to call in complicated economic books, they call it primitive capital accumulation. It's just like you as an individual or a family. You have to acquire capital. You have to acquire a house, you need money, your bank, you need so many things before you can decide, okay, am I going to go into business? What am I going to do? What am I going to do for my child? You can't do that without anything. So it's in the same way, a nation has to acquire greater amounts of capital to be able to carry out the projects for its citizens and make them a happier nation. And so let's go back to Kumasi. That was a nice day. I don't know why we drifted off.
No, but that's it. Yeah, let's go to Kumasi.
Kumasi, so I think we are scoring on what has changed since then. I think that was the import of the question.
And the boy's still tired.
So I think that the Doomsaw has, and not as it was then. At that time to time.
So it's
it was,
improved.
Yes, that one is a simple fact.
And
Whether we want to
you're
go to the
happy
deep.
about it?
Well, I'm happy about that fact that we have constant electricity supply, apart from the odd interruption due to maybe issues of distribution. But at what cost? And that's where we come back to our lack of planning and repetitive lapses, because now clearly it's been achieved at a far higher cost. I think car power and all these other bodies that have been engaged in various business transactions are going to generate power at a higher cost. So how is the state going to cope with that? Is it going to pass that cost on to us, the consumer? Because I'm quite happy with the recent complaints about ECG, because I also received a huge bill, which I've never received a bill like that before.
Are you happy with where we are taking ECG right now, where it's going to be a private,
Privatized.
there's a kind of a concession?
And look at it, suddenly we want to make sure we pay off all ECG debts so that we can hand it over to a private operator to run.
You think that's what's happening with our high bills?
Well, something's happening. Something's happening.
How would you deal with it? How would you deal with the ECG issue?
Well, number one, as an institution, it's been poorly treated. It's been treated as one of those institutions where they are entitled to run up these huge debts on behalf of state institutions and never get paid. How can any entity operate along those lines? So number one, they have to be given the necessary funds to operate as a separate institution and deliver the kind of services we require. And I believe if we do that and try that, and they're able to deal with their inefficiencies, and they're still unable to meet the kind of services and level of services that we require, then we can start considering, options like the one that you have just mentioned or what the government is considering. But I don't think we have ever given them that opportunity. So and for me it's a very strategic area, and I need to get to a point in time where, well, Kafu, you tell me, we would be privatizing our air and our water.
We've thanked family in cheek, Mr. Greenstreet.
And we started off by saying that the black man is capable of managing his own affairs. We have political independence.
Do you believe that?
Absolutely. Aren't we celebrating Muhammad Ali at the moment? I have a great picture of Muhammad Ali with Kwame Nkrumah wearing some nice kente clothes. I think you have seen it. It's
beautiful
fantastic
picture.
So I think those were days of hope. Those were days of great expectation. Those were days of a great belief in the fact that we were all going to go somewhere. It seems to have been eroded somewhat, but I think we need to re-galvanize that. I think we need to touch the hearts and minds of Ghanaians to let them believe that, look, we're in a wealthy nation. We have oil, we have gold, we have gas, we have timber, we have cocoa, we have bauxite, we have access to water resources, we have fertile lands, we have a great climate, we have hardworking people. Why are we in the condition that we're in?
We've wasted all that advantage.
Well, it's never too late. It's never too late.
And you think seriously the CPP can make that difference?
I know you believe that.
Your chairman at your party was saying that, look, there's no way that CPP is not going to win the election. You're going to be up there at the top there deciding things for Ghana. Was he just dreaming?
Absolutely not. Do you think that a professor and a doctor of 45 years and a man of that standing would be prone to dreaming? I don't think so. I think his achievements in his own private life, professional life, demonstrates that he's a man who has attention to detail, who understands facts, and therefore knows something that perhaps I need to communicate to you today, that we are working. And that out there, when we go, we see very fertile political ground. And that fertile political ground is frustration, despair, lack of hope, a feeling of lack of opportunity for the ordinary citizen, and the fact that they are tired of what they believe are the stories and the deceptions and the tricks of our brothers and sisters in the National Democratic Congress and the New Patriotic Party.
Some believe that you don't have the critical mass or leadership to take this country to where you want it to go.
Certainly in the past we have not. But I think currently now there's a great sense of purpose, a great sense of unity. Everybody's working very hard together. And I think that is going to lead to an entirely different set of circumstances come November. Have they decided it's November or December yet?
Well, we are working with November 7th for now.
But it's interesting that you said that in the past we have not. Exactly what are you insinuating here?
Well, you should know that I was also part of the problem or part of the solution. I was General Secretary for 8 years. So I was there during the Indum campaign. I was there during the Sakara campaign. I was a candidate during the Agude campaign. So I saw all the things that went on. You know, sort of internal disunity, division, the kind of thing that's happening in the MPP, you know.
But are you divided? Are you united now? CPP?
Yeah, there's a greater unity of purpose. I'm not saying that it's a perfect setup. Even in government, they don't have a perfect setup. Even in our families, we have our issues. So I'm not coming
but
here
Dr.
to tell
Sakara
stories.
has gone.
He has gone, yes.
And Sami Nkrumah is not too friendly with you now, unless something has happened after your 50th birthday.
Nah. Nothing has happened.
Was she there?
No, she wasn't. I called her. We had a nice chat, but she's in Jomoro doing her parliamentary activity. But I think if she was around, she would have come. I can't guarantee that, you know. But she may have come because it was a 50th birthday party, not because it was Ivor's political event. So I wouldn't say she has got over it. I'm sure she's still struggling with it.
Is she still in the party?
Of course she is. She's contesting as a
She's supporting
candidate. I wouldn't say she's supporting me 100%.
So how is she
She's
conducting her campaign in Jomoro?
She's minding her own business in her constituency. And psychologically, I guess that's how she's coping with it. You know, you see, when we went out for the campaign, okay, we adopted an approach of, you know, I'd been, as I said, secretary for all these years. So what it is an internal party affair. It's not an external election like this upcoming November-December election. You know, internally within the party, those who come and vote within the CPP at the moment are all constituency executives, all regional executives, and some national officers.
Because you haven't widened it like the NDC and the NPP to
okay.
a degree.
So we have widened it in terms of we have the polling station executives, the electoral area executives, but they don't vote, okay? We have a sort of system, sort of bottom-up system where they effectively elect and determine what the executives at the constituency level are going to go and say and do at a Congress. And primarily we've done that because of, you know, not having the kinds of monies one needs to be able to have elections simultaneously at all those levels. So when I went to go and see them, you know, because I mean, I've worked with them, I've been close to them all these years. So I told them, look, so this is what I want to do. What do you think? They said, Green, don't worry at all. We know what we are coming to do. All we want to do is to prepare the ambulance and the oxygen for Madame. Because when we get to Trade Fair site, we know what we're coming to do. That is why, you know, I knew what was going to happen, but, you know, her camp didn't know what was going to happen. And, you know, if I was her and her camp, the kind of shock that we delivered to them, I definitely also would take some time to get over it. I mean, it's not easy, you know, entering into any contest. So the point is I have a good working relationship with her. I did have one as General Secretary. We got on very well together. And so I know over a period of time, you know, to one of those things we all look back on and say, Ivor, you're a bad boy, you know. Yeah.
Did you think that the delegates chose you because you would be a better candidate, or because of your relationship with them?
Oh, I think certainly they saw me as somebody who could articulate the views of the party well. They saw me as somebody who understood the political dynamics within the country. They saw me as somebody who could do his best to try and unify the various different factions in the party because of his lengthy engagement with them. And they saw me as somebody who deserved the opportunity due to the length of time he had been in the front line for the party. And so all of those factors, you know, coupled with, you know, the way you deal with human beings, was enough for me to get them thinking in the right way, all the way to the Congress.
To your victory.
Yeah.
And to today.
It's not an easy thing. I mean, politics is about, winning elections is not an easy thing.
Yeah, you've been doing this for quite some time now.
So you have to plan it and know
what to do.
The psychological warfare, how you're going to go about it, and how you're going to convince the person that this is what you're going to do. And so that is what we are doing now with this election.
We'll get to that. We'll get to what you're doing with your rounds around the country.
Okay.
But let's just stay a bit on the thinking, because for me, it appears the NDC has stolen and marched on the whole, social democracy, left of center paradigm. NPP is towards the right, property owning. You are a fish out of water. NDC has taken over that CPP space.
I don't think so. One of the things that NPP likes always to trumpet, especially under the 8 years of President Kufuor, is what? Capitation grant and the LEAP program, they intervene. And so whenever they're trying to trumpet their achievements, they always refer to their so-called, not so-called, in actual fact they did, their social intervention programs and policies. And why is that? Because when they started, along with the so-called property, that one is so-called property owning democracy, because everybody wants to own property all over the world, and all Ghanaians want to own property. So that one, you can't confine it to one political party. We all want to own property. So when they started, what did they start with? Golden age of business. It was when they realized that their golden age of business was just a golden age of business for a few, and actually a mirage, that they quickly had to latch onto these social intervention programs and policies, which were not in their manifesto, but which were bequeathed to them as ideas from donor agencies about why don't you do this to try and help the ordinary person be cushioned against the effect of the harshness of the economy, that they adopted them, but they still blow their trumpet about it. So some may say that their social intervention might be even more than what NDC has come to claim as social intervention, because as at now, I'm presuming because of some pressure from IMF, even they always seem to deny it, they've been talking about passing on the costs of practically everything to us, the ordinary Ghanaian, whether it is the price of electricity, whether it is the price of water, whether it is the current price of fuel, which is very low on the international market, but because they're insistent on keeping their taxes, our cost per gallon is still high. Does that strike you as a social democratic operation? Not at all. You understand me? So, for us, we are not a fish out of water. Both of them lumped together are rather the fishes out of water. That is why their policies, which they have been pursuing all of these years, keep on giving us the same result. Frustration, despair, hopelessness, lack of employment, and lack of opportunity. Because as of now, Kafwe, they say that 70% of our so-called earnings, our GDP, is used to pay what? Our public sector workforce, with salaries and recurrent expenditure. So that means we only have, out of the money that we earn as a nation, 30% to do what? Roads, healthcare, education, provide opportunity. Clearly, there's something is wrong, can't we? That is not a set of statistics we can be proud of. So what has to happen? Those statistics are produced by a type of economy. And clearly, therefore, the economy is producing statistics that we don't want. So we have to change that type of economy. That means far more value addition, far more analysis of areas where we have comparative advantage, whereby with government intervention, but also with the private sector, we ensure that there are businesses that are established all over the country which provide opportunity for employment, but also generate far more revenue, and ensure that we're not going to have the kind of crisis with our currencies that we've been having in the past. So I think that is why NDC are trying to do this thing with the sugar. We import so much sugar. We import so much sugar. So if you do a comparative analysis of how much it would cost someone to import sugar per ton, and then you include how much the freight is, and how much the insurance and taxes and duties they would pay to import it. If you compare that with whether we can produce that same sugar locally at far less cost, you will realize that we have a comparative advantage. So we have to be doing it. But clearly the private sector hasn't been able to get into it because of the costs associated with it. So government has to help. So I think these are the things that we would be talking about in our manifesto, and I think we'll be alluding to so many of these areas that would be wanting to contribute to, and would urge Ghanaians to actually understand and realize that, going to vote is not about staking lotto. It's about looking at the two different parties who are there and overcoming this psychological warfare that they use, that, CPP can't win, so therefore it's a wasted vote. How can your vote be ever wasted? Vote for what you consider to be right. Vote for what you consider to be progress. Vote for what you consider to be light. Both of these two parties, their favorite schemes are what? Rancor, vindictiveness, darkness, division. All they do is they continue to divide us.
Doesn't this tire you? You have to fight two opponents at
but
once.
I'm a guerrilla warfare specialist. You should know in politics. Don't worry. We're in the battlefield. And we will teach them a thing or two. So, Kafwe, today you are in green socks. I'm enjoying your socks inside. So your tie is almost green. So I know you're on the
Another
green
shade
train.
of green, yes. And it was deliberate, he tells me. And I'm looking at, I mean, you have said definitely a lot. I'm looking at the real challenges that we face as a country. Do you really understand the challenges that we face as a country?
Absolutely, I believe so.
What is Ghana's biggest challenge as we sit here?
Well, unfortunately, it's not only one. If it was only one, then that would be easy. It's a myriad of challenges. Okay. Number one, we have a serious problem with corruption. Okay, and I think if you look at other countries around the world who have been able to succeed, they have dealt with the issues of corruption, not just petty corruption, but institutionalized corruption in all areas. And I'll give you a recent example. I think a country like Rwanda, which had all those years of terrible genocide and ethnic strife and all the hell they went through. After the program, go and check out their figures, because they've managed to deal with this corruption issue. They're on a growth rate of about 8-10%.
Why can't we do it? Why can't we use corruption?
Exactly. The point is, number one, have we truly accepted, as an alcoholic, if he's to cure his problem, they always tell him that you have to
accept first that you are an alcoholic.
Because you're not going to deal with it just by, every year with Transparency International will come along and give us a report and we'll say, we have all these problems. We talk about it for 2 weeks and hey, we move on to another.
What is the Greenstreet index of corruption? Where are we in Ghana? What's the rating?
Oh, the rating, I don't have a rating for you. I don't have a rating. Not in terms of...
In terms of 0 to 10, where 10 says we're doing very well and 0 says we're doing nothing. What's your ranking?
What do you think? 3.5?
3.5. That's me.
That's pretty low.
That's an E.
Yeah. We're not doing well, Kafui.
Yeah, but...
You know it.
You said that you thought
but
that
we're
it
all
had
part
improved.
of the problem. I'm not saying we're,
You said that you thought it had improved.
Well, so it might have been 2 before. Who knows?
So I mean, if you were in Flagstaff House, what would you do? I mean, how would you do? Because you have to work through institutions. This is not a banana republic where you have a dictator who can shoot people for stealing money. Absolutely. What would you do?
So that's why the first thing, okay, is the Ghanaians should recognize, and this is what they were telling us when we went to the north, that they're tired of the fight between NDC and MPP, that CPP should come and separate the fight. They call it gozable.
Which means?
Separate the fight.
You're too small.
Huh?
The Nkrumah's thing is too small.
We'll talk about,
You're too small to separate
the
fight.
power of guerrilla warfare. You see, when you have 2 armies on the battlefield fighting a battle, and you're going to defeat both of those forces, you have to plan a strategy. That means you fight in the night. You know when you poison their water, and you know when you make sure their machines don't work. But we'll come to that later, about how to fight and how small actually is big, and how actually less is more in this transient existence.
You've been reading too much Machiavelli.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's the reality of who we are. So, as you said, we are small, so we have to know how to fight as a small person. So, corruption, number one. Lack of, I'm sure you hear it all the time, lack of employment.
Jobs.
We have a serious... And, when you have lack of employment, lack of jobs, that's a serious recipe for social chaos. All these graduates going through all these years, studying, getting degrees, and you can't find any employment. Those who have not even had an opportunity to become graduates, moving around. Whenever we go to the rural areas in the north and elsewhere, you'll see in the middle of the day young men sitting under trees, playing cards. It's not as it should be. And look at that recent incident in Kumasi, I think, where there was a big fight taking place between some youth groups. I forget the area where...
Yeah, Tafo.
Yeah, Do you think that would take
fight
place
over a cemetery.
If people were, doing good business, making money, or, had fulfillment from employment, were taking care of their family? I don't think that would happen. So we need to. But those things can't be done with a lot of the problems we have in the current system that we're operating. Because I'm sure as you're sitting here, you don't get a sense that our parliament or our legislature, whatever you want to call it, is sitting down thinking about our problem. A lot of it is going through the motions. So once CPP are there, after succeeding in separating the fight, what we need is unity of purpose. with some key areas where we know we have to tackle them. If we don't tackle them, we have a problem. And we have to have islands. Those islands where Ghanaians can clearly see, with these islands, we have made a difference and we have made a change and we have made progress. And one of those islands we have to deal with is the corruption island. Okay? You can't deal with it everywhere simultaneously. You know, you can't deal with it at the level of somebody giving 20 cedis to, you know, a policeman because he's breached a traffic regulation. I mean, that is petty corruption. I mean, it's still unacceptable, but it's petty corruption. But it's the institutionalized ones in our public finance system and how we go about things at that level. Our ports. You know, some time ago they did some investigation. Well, the loss of revenue. You know, so all of those things ensure that we achieve what? Greater revenue, okay, greater efficiency, greater sense of purpose, you know. And then when you add those things into other areas in terms of employment creation, value addition that we would be proposing, then you will see a remarkable change. And I think we are the party that can do it, because the others have been trying to do it. They haven't succeeded in doing it.
Well, we've heard this like time without number. And I'm just thinking, listening to you, this is not just some political talk.
Oh.
The issues that the NDC outlined in their manifesto to be dealing with are still here with us.
I agree. But the point is, they had an opportunity, 92 to 2000. They had the opportunity. They didn't do it. NPP had the opportunity, 2000 to 2008. They didn't do it.
Did their leadership fail?
Of course. Otherwise, why did Ghanaians reject them? I am not even a determinant of their failure. It's the people of Ghana who determined that they had failed.
Is President Mahama failing right now?
Well, you'd have to ask him that question.
What is your view?
My view
you
is
could
that
stand in front of, you could sit in front of him and just blast him and go.
My view is that
he's not here now, so you should be free.
My view is that the writing is on the wall, and that within 4 or 5 months, we'll go to a vote.
What does the writing say on that wall?
Well, the writing says on that wall that when they go to the ballot and reject John Mahama, they know that Nana Akufo-Addo is not an option. NPP is not an option for a frustrated vote. Everybody sitting in Ghana now knows that they have a problem with the NDC and their performance. A serious problem. But they also know that NPP is an impossibility as an option when dealing with their own frustrated vote. And so the only option they have is to consider the Convention People's Party. And note that I only asked for them to consider us seriously and listen and decipher very carefully what it is we say, what it is we do. Because we don't believe in acts that divide us. Note, we don't talk about world banks. When you hear NPP and NDC talk about world banks, it's a form of dividing us as a nation. We in the CPP be in the oneness of Ghana as a nation. That's why we don't talk about World Bank in terms of ethnicity. We talk about World Bank of truth, World Bank of justice, World Bank of progress. We talk about values. And we would urge Ghanaians, and now is the time for them to recognize and look at values as the things that should guide them when they are making a determination as to which direction they want to go.
How do you tell a hungry person to talk about values? The man is hungry.
So
and Marcus Garvey himself said, "It's a hungry man have no respect for law and authority."
Oh, well, we're not saying they shouldn't take NDC's 20 Ghana or 50 Ghana their T-shirt. They should take it. It's Ghana money.
Where are the values then?
No, their value is that they should take it and reject it. They should take it and reject it.
You will not be there to verify that.
Of course, but the vote will show. Kafui, I'm telling you, you're in green socks today. You don't know why you wore green today.
Listen,
something is happening.
The CPP, and interestingly, the CPP has always fronted, if you ask me, the best candidates, but it's never reflected in the votes.
So in life, if you continue to try and something doesn't succeed, do you just give up? You try again, but you identify reasons why in the past you were not able to succeed, okay? And this time, years and years and year upon year upon year of frustration with NDC and NPP, we believe that the ground is now fertile everywhere we go. This is what they tell us. So we'll wait and see whether it is reflected in the vote. This is what we have not dreamt up as some scheme in our houses or in our party office. But wherever we go, they tell us.
Is your manifesto out?
Almost out. You know, every time we send out our manifesto, the other parties try and snitch some of our ideas. So we have to. Our timing is key.
But this is lame.
Have MPP brought out their manifesto?
You're not fighting those people. You
But
want
they-
Ghana.
they want-
You're
they
not
want
interested
power.
in MPP.
Yes.
So
it will
We're
come-
dealing
when
with
is your
the
manifesto
CPP.
coming?
It is ready. It's just a matter of
What's the key
time.
idea in that manifesto? You must have seen it.
You know, our key idea is based on the foundation of what the party believes in. Okay? So, number one, it's called self-determination, meaning we believe in greater self-reliance. We believe in greater earnings from our natural resources that God has bequeathed to us. Okay? That we're not earning enough from what we have in our soil. And unless we start... Look, let me just divert this briefly. Recently, MPP and NDC, who, as I said, are the same, in the Committee on Mines and Energy, sat down to agree to allow Goldfields Ghana to pay less in taxes and less in royalties for their mines, I think Takwa and Dama mines. How could we be allowing a multinational to pay less? We should be asking them to pay more.
Incentive to
Otherwise,
do more business.
let's suspend taking gold out of our soil, because where are we getting the benefit?
They're giving them an
And they
incentive
have
to do
these
business.
foreign retention clauses. All the money they take, they keep outside.
So
What are we doing?
you'd renegotiate all these things if you came in?
Renegotiate. Not only gold, but oil and gas. Otherwise, we'll continue with this model of 70% of our earnings paying for our public sector and 30% being able to do nothing. And we'll just always be here lamenting over our problems. We will always lament over our problems unless we do something differently, but in a considered, detailed, and organized way, that is based on scientific analysis, not just, empty ideas. So, self-determination. That's what self-determination means. As I was trying to practicalize the example. Okay? Social justice. Okay? We believe that vast amounts of our wealth is retained by too few people. And that, you need to create opportunity for somebody who might be in Bibiani, Sefiyosu, Sandema, Golu, or wherever spread over the surface of this nation. They still have rights to have education, the kind of education that, if they work hard, they have an opportunity to rise to the highest level. And access to health and so many other things that, we believe. And we also, the third element is Pan-Africanism and greater cooperation with our neighbors.
Okay.
So those are the
key ideas.
foundations that will be reflected in key policy decisions.
Okay, self-determination, social justice, Pan-Africanism.
You got it. Yeah. I think.
I'm listening to you.
You live here with a party card today.
You should give
I'm not
Kafui a
secretary
position
anymore.
should you win election.
I'm listening to you.
What I have for
keen.
Kafui, this is our leaflet. Once we're promoting Iva and CDP Day, You see, so that's me in my former days. As a lawyer. That's some picture we took at the Black Star Square, and this is not my funky standing chair.
Let me have a look at it while we go for
This has
that-
why we should reject NDC.
Let me have a look.
While you do that, gentlemen, let me just say that it's a green morning on our show, and our guests, our special guest, the leader, flag bearer of the Convention People's Party, Mr. Ivor Kobna Greenstreet. Well, you've heard him, all the beautiful ideas, that he's talking about to tackle this country's problems. Are you impressed?
Ivor Kobna Greenstreet. Your questions to him, 0288 500 600. 0288 500 600. This is a question: has the party got the funds to execute this election?
Yes.
Mr. Greenstreet.
We don't have the same amount of funds as the NPP or the NDC, but the limited funds that we have we'll use judiciously and carefully in a targeted way. So in other words, you will not see huge billboards and huge convoys and continuous adverts on TV. No, we don't have that kind of money. But we will do what we can to enter into the hearts and minds of Ghanaians. And they should know that if all these parties are able to do that, ask themselves, where did they get that money from?
Where's your money coming from? How many registered members do you have, and what are the dues?
We have registered members who pay. The dues are very minimal.
How much?
1 city.
Okay. A month?
A month, yes.
Okay.
So but everybody pays.
12 cities a year?
All our members pay.
How many members are paying
We
the
have
dues?
our executive members who pay all the time anyway, that's 2,000. And then we have thousands of others who, I don't know what the current figures are, who pay erratically. But a lot of them pay different amounts. So that one is not just dues they're paying. They pay 10 cities, 20 cities, 50 cities, depending on.
This is a lean budget for such a big country.
Oh, but we raise money. Apart from that, we raise money from other sources, from key supporters, people. Because, you'll be surprised the number of people who feel the need for the implementation of the kind of ideas the party has, because they can see, that things are not going as they should do as a nation. And so these are people who are business people, especially local businessmen, who believe that we represent the hope for the ordinary Ghanaian businessman. That for too long, the focus is on multinationals and making laws and tax regimes that suit them.
A big businessman left your party and you haven't survived.
Who was that?
Indu.
Yes, that was them, but this is now,
Don't you look with longing at his business empire and think, oh, this could have been part of CPP's fundraising?
Oh, I think CPP, we believe in more of, individuals coming together and being able to work with each other. So I think if he's gone off on his own and their party is comfortable with that kind of arrangement whereby it's one person, who dictates everything, and that is how they go about their activities. Normally I don't like to comment on other, party setups.
Yeah.
But we wish them well. They should go and sell their message. But the important thing is that, ours is a collection of people who believe in certain ideas. And these are ideas that we believe will make a difference in the lives of the ordinary Ghanaian. I'm trying to get the back off of this sticker.
Don't worry.
So I can leave evidence in your
studio.
That truly you are part of the green train.
Are we going to see, or is the CPP going to go into this election on your own, or are we going to see a united front of all the Nkrumahist parties?
Oh, I think it is likely, looking at the time that is left, and looking at the posture of all our respective setups, that we will go alone. But those are decisions that the party would sit down and deliberate on and examine the pros and cons as to how we would go about it. Because clearly, in unity there is strength. Those are things that are sort of behind the scenes kind of things that are discussed, that ordinarily we don't try and bring to the forefront, but rather, do them behind the scenes and then come out.
Fair point. Yeah. What's the attraction of your party for somebody who was born in 1998 and is going to be a first-time voter?
Well, they're looking at the attraction of the party right now, and they've been listening to the attraction of the party right now. And that's Ivor Kobina Greenstreet, the presidential candidate, who is reflecting how the values of the party and what the party believes it can do and the changes it would make, how they are applicable to June 2016 and the 21st century, and why they are, and why what the others have been doing before have led to the specific results they themselves can see. And so they even have to make a determination that if the soup they are drinking is not sweet, why would you continue eating the same soup? Definitely have to change your soup. And we are explaining to them why the soup that is on offer now is a sweet soup and will reflect in their daily lives. Certainly.
I want to get a bit personal.
Okay.
We live in an environment where, majority of people think that people living with, disabilities have no business, with leadership.
Yes.
And here you are, you're the first person, let me say, aspiring to the highest office of the land. How does that make you feel?
Oh, very, very happy and very inspired. I'm leaving my deposit here now. Or should it be on the cup?
The man is happily trying to brand us. No.
Let me block this.
Okay, you block
the camera.
Block the EIB and put it. No problem. Go ahead.
Yes, I mean, certainly you know that there's a sort of perception of persons with disability. I think even when the minister was put in charge of the chieftaincy.
Dr. Dana.
There are a few comments here or there. I think even I've received some few comments, not just from outside my party. I think, Sam George made this elevation comment.
Yes, I was there when he said that. And even Mr. Jantua,
of course,
in your own party, made that comment
exactly.
to us. Has he apologized yet?
No, he hasn't.
Are you expecting an apology from him?
No, I'm not.
Were you disappointed?
Well, when you get old, maybe you say things you don't mean or believe in. He's an old
You think
man.
he may be senile?
I'm not saying I don't say he's senile, but the fact of the matter is, in the United States of America, and I'm sure you read your history, so they had a president called Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Yes, indeed.
Who was president in the 1930s and early 1940s. In those days, they were able to have successive terms of office. I think because he was so successful, it's after him they decided to restrict it to 2 terms.
Yeah, he went 4 terms.
But he went for 4 terms. He died in his 4th term. And, you know, he had polio at a point in time in his life, and campaign became president. And he became, you know, and it is God who chooses leaders, you know. And so God placed him there when America was at a time of war, not at a time of peace. So, you know, we are all equal citizens before God. We are all, you know, spirits of God. And so what's most important is, you know, your intelligence, your capacity, your experience, your intentions, whether you have an honest, clean heart, your transparency, and your desires, your dreams, your visions of what it is that you want to offer to the people as a whole. I mean, my disability, as I'm sure maybe you might be aware, is as a result of a car accident that I had some years ago. You know, clearly you wouldn't wish it to be the case. But, you know, in this life, it's not how you fall down that counts, but it's how you get up and what you do and how you contribute. And whether we like it or not, if now you're at home and you don't have a job and you can't earn money for yourself, indirectly you're disabled by moving forward. If you're at home and your child is sick and you can't pay for his or her medical bills, indirectly you're disabled from moving forward. If you're at home and you can't pay for your school fees and therefore you can't pursue the course or the life that you want, indirectly you're disabled by your circumstances. And therefore, at the moment in Ghana, there are a lot of disabled people, not as disabled by hearing difficulties or sight difficulties or physical difficulties, but in their daily lives, this is the great disability.
So we are suffering economic disability, is that what you're saying?
Well, yes. I mean, look at our sanitation problems. Yesterday we were at a rally, you know, at Agbobushi. You know, some huge mounds of filth and I mean, come on, Kafui. You know, it's not supposed to be like that. Well, it's not as though we are Nigeria where we have 150 million people or whatever it is. We only have 26 million people. And we have such rich resources. So, you know, we have to organize ourselves, I think, a bit better. And so, yes, the disability, you know, is there. But, you know, I contested. Okay, the first time I contested, that was PCP, People's Convention Party. That time I was on my feet. And that was in Dade Kotopon. That was in 1996. But the party entered into a great alliance with the MPP at that time. Then the next time I contested was after my accident and I was disabled. That was 2004, you know. And then twice as General Secretary elected, you know, despite my condition. That is because when you get close to people, Ghanaians especially, I think, they look beyond, you know, the initial view of your circumstances. And when they see that you are ready to be with them, you're ready to work for them, and that you have something to offer, they forget about it. So every community we go, recently on our recent tour, we see the chiefs, we engage with the people. And, you know, we are energized and inspired by the way they respond to us and treat to us. So I don't think we have found it a negative or a drawback. But it still requires, you know, for me and my colleagues, we have to summon energy every day, you know, to continue the battle ahead. Yes.
Do you have a problem with government expenditure? Like how much money government spends on the machinery? On government machinery,
okay.
Yes.
In terms of the number of ministers and deputy ministers?
That whole expenditure.
Well, I think, you know, it's an area that has to be looked at. But I don't know how much would be saved just from that, you know, area. I think you have to look at the whole thing in totality and make it an examination as to where the greatest leakages are. And I think the greatest leakages are in our public, you know, financial setup and operations.
Okay. Things going on in the ministries, things are going on in the public institutions.
Yes, the ghost names, you know, all of them.
All right.
So, because you can't also say you're going to run a government, you know, with hardly any, you know, executive members to carry out your mandates.
Okay. We've got some quick questions here. What are you doing with Kwesi Pratt and Kweku Baako? They seem to be speaking for the people you want to block and exit.
Oh, this time,
I
think at least one of them is speaking very firmly for CPP. That is Kwesi.
Which one of them?
Kwesi Pratt seems to speak for the NDC.
Really?
And Kweku Baako seems to speak for the NPP.
Well, I think Kwesi
Are you blocking them?
Huh? No, you can't block them.
You can't fire them?
No, you can't. Well, they're not members as such in terms of, I mean, I don't know when they last came for their
or
party.
Hadburn
Yes.
paid dues.
But, the fact of the matter is they have their views. You see, I think people need to look beyond the veil. They should look inside. And when they look inside well and they watch how people speak and what they say, they themselves will maybe work out why they're speaking or saying things that way. So they should listen to what Ivor Kovner, Greenstreet, and the CPP has to say.
Okay.
Not necessarily what
the others are saying.
have to say.
On the issue of the persons living with disability, though, I meant to ask this follow-up question as to, given the marginalization, how are you going to remedy the situation should you, be given the
Well, the funny thing is that all the laws are there. We have the UN Convention there.
So we get them implemented.
Exactly.
Okay.
These things, they went to go and build a Flagstaff house without a ramp, But I mean, ramps are not expensive.
So of course, if you win, there will be changes, architectural changes. To
you will be working from there halfway. By that time, GH1,
Van
have to let you go.
Van Hoff says Greenstreet is beginning to win my heart. I like him. He can be a good leader. CPP is a real go Zabli, Ndagbani, Latif, Tamale South. And Kwabna Damson says, please ask Mr. Greenstreet what makes him think he's winning this election, and if he doesn't, what is the way forward? What makes you think you're winning, and if you don't win, what's the way forward?
I'll tell him that he should have been listening to the program earlier. All these answers were given far earlier. Okay. But if he wants me to repeat them, I can. And that is because, number one, we have the ideas, okay, and the prescriptions and the solutions which will make a difference and a change in the way we do things. We have listed the problems, if he was listening, that we're facing at the moment in terms of the fact that our revenue generation is so poor. And the amount that we are able to garner from taxes and from donors and from all others, loans and all these things, is still not enough to be able to create enough for investment in the areas that we need to do to create jobs and employment and opportunity in all parts of the country. And so therefore, things have to be done differently.
Right.
And so looking at the values of the CPP, what we believe in terms of value addition, creation of employment, taking advantage of these areas to move the nation forward, we would ask him to look away from the Akatamanso, look away from Kukudu, and look for the, Osuno, and come to the Akoko.
But I hear a Pampufro everywhere. What is it about? What is a Pampufro about?
So, a Pampufro, I don't know. This one, me, I'm a regular church girl. You go to, where do you go to? Where do you go to church?
Mount Olivet Methodist Church or Holy Ghost Temple ICGC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kathy, where do you go?
I'm Catholic. by my wife. I'm Presbyterian, but I go to Catholic church because of the wife. Yeah.
I worship at ICGC, but I'm a member.
The man is not asking us questions.
So
what is a Pampufro?
What is a
You have to give me time to think,
New covenant.
It's new covenant.
Yeah.
So, and wherever we go, we explain why we feel there needs to be a new covenant. Because as I'm sure you are aware, people are not happy with politicians. They see politicians as a group of individuals who are there to serve their own self-interest and not serve the interests of the people at large, the people of Ghana. And so we tell them that, as you say, somebody was born in the 1990s. We tell them that, Kwame Nkrumah, didn't leave with a house or with a bank account or with money, because he came to serve. He did not come to serve himself. That is why so many years later, he has something far greater. And that is a memory in the hearts and minds of Ghanaians that this is somebody who came to serve. That is why he was able to be made the African of what? The millennium. These are no small things. They are no small things. And we all here as human beings, suddenly we will realize for a very short period of this earth. And that is why when you see a father being buried by his children, you see how a good father is buried by his children, how he will remain in their memories and in their hearts for what he did for them, and the sacrifices he made for them. In the same way, we are leaders in our families, we are leaders in our communities, but also leaders in our nation. And so therefore, it just takes a group of people who literally really mean well and who actually want to work hard to serve the people.
All right.
Then you will see...
And that's
So
where...
it definitely is no different from the CPP's ideology of Nkrumahism.
Well, I mean, clearly there are lots of differences. I don't think we're still in the 1960s.
Indeed.
But look at what they were able to achieve
Back then.
without the internet, without the digital age, yet now we have access to all of those things, and look at what we're doing.
So you have a potential greater things to do with the tools that we have.
Yes.
who is your vice presidential candidate?
Well, I was going to ask you today. I don't know whether you. I need someone like you, young,
Seriously.
strong, dynamic.
Seriously.
Oh, Gafwe, why? Are you rejecting the opportunity?
Why Kafui?
Handsome, dynamic,
Why
intelligent.
Kafui?
That's not what you need. Who is your vice presidential
Why
candidate?
Kafui?
You'll get to know. You'll get to know very, very soon.
When are you making the announcement?
Very, very soon. I don't want to give you the time and the date. I want my chairman and leader to communicate that.
Okay. All right.
You know, I'm the flag bearer of a party. And so the mistakes that our candidates have made in the past is they think that to be a presidential candidate, you're the be-all and end-all of the party. And the party is nothing. You make that mistake, you'll find yourself in problems. I'm the flag bearer of a party. We work together as a team. We work together as a collective. And those decisions will be communicated at the right time to, the general public in a way. But you'll be surprised and you'll be shocked, the person we're going to choose. And it's going to send shockwaves throughout the whole of this nation.
Okay, well, that's our chat.
It's been a very interesting one.
Mr. Greenstreet.
And that is Mr. Greenstreet for
Yes.
you.
He wants to unseat the NDC and Mahama. He wants to
read
block
it out, read it out.
NPP
I'm
and
launching my
Akufo-Addo.
leaflet on GH1 today.
So that's the blue leaflet. We'll put it out on our social media. You can go. But that's
So
what
we
he
can
wants
call
to
it
do.
the green leaflets, not the green book, but the green leaflet.
Why not? Apanfufu.
Thank you very much, Ivo.
It's been a pleasure.
And all the best.
You made me park so far away from
Yeah, so we're wondering why. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
God bless.
It's a pleasure.
All right.
I really enjoyed
I
it.
need a hat.
Yes, she's going for a hug.
Wow.
Forget the
Okay.
handshake.
I know.
Hope you
Get the
have
hug.
All right.
All right.
Thank you for being here.
Okay, the green theme continues because the man from the country of green, white, and green is here with us. Chief Dele Momodu is our guest. And you can see why I'm wearing green today. It's not just for Ivo. Stay with us. This is GH1 TV, and you're watching GH Today with Kafui and Beswa.